Let's go through this quiz about the phases of mitosis. For each cell that I show you, I'm going to go over how to identify what phase the cell is in. At the end, I'm going to give you the answer. Here are the possible answers: interphase, prophase, prometaphase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and cytokinesis. The reason why I'm including prometaphase in this set is because this is going to be more geared to an AP biology class. With that being said, let's just jump right into it. Here's our first cell. You can see that two nuclei are starting to reform. Chromosomes are composed of only one chromatid, and the cell hasn't split yet. It kind of looks like two cells are about to be split, so this one is known as telophase. We can see our cell, we can see the chromosomes, and they're aligning along the middle. Anytime they're aligning along the middle here, that's going to make me think M for metaphase. Here's our next cell. We can see that the nucleus here is still intact. We can see the chromosomes haven't condensed yet. That's my biggest clue here. Whenever I don't see chromosomes that have condensed in that X pattern, I know this is interphase. Here's our next cell, and this is going to be a little bit confusing because the chromosomes in here are kind of hard to tell if they are condensed yet. You can see the nuclear envelope is still somewhat intact. You can see the centrosome and the spindle fibers already starting to form and migrate to the opposite poles. This is going to be prophase because the chromosomes have condensed. You can see each arm here, the P and the Q arm. So since the chromosomes have condensed, the nuclear envelope will begin to break down around this phase. This is going to be prophase. This is an easy one because I can tell there are two cells that have just split. It looks like these cells are entering back into interphase, but this is because they just went through something called cytokinesis. All right, we can tell here this is the cell. We can see the nuclear membrane is almost fully done breaking down. The centrosomes are at the opposite poles of the cell. Their spindle fibers have attached here to the kinetochores. Since they have attached, and they're not really, they're a little bit in the middle, so this one's a little bit difficult to tell, but since they're not exactly in the middle, this one's going to be called prometaphase. All right, we can see our centrosomes. They're not fully at the poles of the cell. We can see the nuclear membrane has started to break down. We can see chromosomes have condensed. Whenever I see those chromosomes being condensed and they're not attached to the spindle fibers yet, I can tell this is going to be prophase because this is the first stage of mitosis. For this cell, you can see that the chromatids are starting to pull away. And anytime I see chromatids pull away and they look like this, I think that this is going to be anaphase because those chromatids being split is what occurs during this phase. All right, here's our cell. We can see our chromosomes here. We can see the centrosomes, the spindle fibers. We can see that the spindle fibers have attached to the kinetochores. However, they're not in the middle. If they were in the middle, this would be metaphase, but this is the one before metaphase, so this is prometaphase. All right, we can see we have two cells almost fully developed. We can see this contractile ring splitting the cell. Since the cell is splitting here and our nuclei here are pretty much reformed, this is going to be cytokinesis. Right off the bat, I can look here. Chromosomes are in the middle. Anytime I see the chromosomes in the middle like this is metaphase. All right, so we have two nuclei starting to reform. Chromosomes have already migrated to the opposite poles. We have the cell starting to split. This is going to be known as telophase. Here are those chromatids being split apart. Again, anytime I see the chromatids look like something like this, I think anaphase, because that's where the chromosomes are going to split. It's during anaphase. We have our cell. We don't see chromosomes inside the cell. It looks like just a bunch of spaghetti. That means the chromosomes haven't condensed yet. That means it's not in mitosis yet. This is going to be interphase.